Hello and welcome to the Damp Show. This week we've got Councillor Ian Paddy Shirt. He's one of my mates who's agreed to do a video and podcast, and we're going to talk about his school days, how he went on at school and evolved into a bricklayer. And then went from bricklayer to management to a counsellor in Barnsley. Ian's also played local football with a lot of decent teams in Barnsley, and he's also been a manager at Worsbrough Bridge. And he talks about some of the stories from then and from growing up in the 80s. 90s in and around Barnsley, and it's a really interesting story, and I think we're going to do it in two parts. So this is the first part, so I hope you're going to enjoy it. Over to Ian. Right then, Ian.
Morning, Sam.
We're going to get into it now. So Ian Paddy Shirt. First question. Where's Paddy come from?
Right, where's Paddy come from? So, this is obviously a story of what I heard from my older siblings and my mum and dad. I should have been born on 17th March. I was actually born on 19th. And they were torn between half at side of family wanted to call me Ian, half wanted to call me Patrick. If I'd have been born on St. Patrick's Day, I think it would have been Patrick Ian. But because I weren't, they went for Ian Patrick, so that's where Paddy comes from. These Irish in family as well.
I was just going to say, are you Catholic?
My dad were.
Right.
I weren't brought up as a Catholic. I was brought up COV, but.
So which school did you start off on? First junior school.
First junior school was St Edwin's in Athersley, because that's where I was born and bred, Athersley North, and then things happen what changes your life. Like I lost my mum when I was 8, and that's when I lived in Athersley.
Yeah. And
then my dad, to make life easier for himself and us as two young lads, me and my brother Kev. I come from 5. There's 5 sons, but 3 of them were like, 2 of them were married off. One were like in his 20s. Me and our Kev were younger ends. So my dad moved us up to Worsbrough Common to be nearer his family, so they could help out with looking after us and stuff like that. So I started off at St Edwin's, and then I went to Lonca.
Is your dad's family from up Common?
Yeah, Worsbrough Common.
Because my mum goes on about shirts all the time, and it's got to be yours, but I don't know whether she goes on about them, because my dad's family were from Common, obviously, Bride, Jim, and all them, and my mum's family were from Kendry. Well, she was from Newcastle, but they moved to Kendry.
Right.
So, what is it? Well, there's some of your family that live in
Kendry. It actually gets complicated, because there's shirts from Kendry, and then there's shirts from Common, and I believe there's shirts from Cawthorne. I actually married a girl, Donna. Obviously, her name was Micklethwaite at the time. But her mum's maiden name was Shirt.
Right.
So she was off at Shirts from Kendry.
Right.
And I didn't know when I first met her. And it was only when I started meeting her mum, going, like, things were getting serious, and her mum said, "Oh, my maiden name was Shirt." And I was like, "Whoa, hold on. What's happening here?" Like, and obviously I asked my dad, and to be fair to my dad, he always called shirts from Kendry like our Dick, our Bill, our Bob. And I think they did the same about my dad and his brothers, although they're not really related. So, yeah, there is shirts from Kendry, who I'm related to now through marriage. Great family.
All my mum keeps saying is, lovely people.
Yeah.
That's all she says. She says, they were lovely. They were lovely shirts. But like I said, she could have been on about them from Common. Well,
I'd like to think they all are, to be fair. But it's like any family, there'll be odd rogue. I might be rogue in ours, but I don't know.
Well,
But-
you might have been.
Yeah,
but I think obviously
yeah.
we'll
Yeah,
talk
true.
about it
Yeah, we'll
later
talk
on.
about
But
it.
like we've all had
Yeah.
as past, but it's
And
what
as
you're doing
learning
going
curves.
forward. Yeah, it's what you're doing going forward. So you were at St Edwin's. What was that like?
To be honest, it were good. I always like, because you're growing up with people what you're going to St Edwin's way. So as you're coming through infants, you tend to go to same juniors, and it were good, and it were a bit of a wrench when we got moved for any kid, 8-year-old, to be uplifted and move somewhere else
Yeah.
to find. And other thing on that, Sam, is when I lived in Athersley, people called me Pat. And it was my choice when I went up Worsbrough Common to change it to Ian.
Yeah.
And that were all because my brother, Gary, had met a girl called Pat. And I thought,
That's a lass's
I'm
name.
not even a lass's name. And that's why I changed it. But as I was growing up then, if I were out with mates from Worsbrough Common and I saw my old mates from Athersley, they'd say, "Hey up Paddy, hey up Pat."
Yeah.
And my mates would say, "Oh, what are they talking to?"
Yeah.
So that's how it come about.
I had this, like you went to 8 from Athersley up to Common. Like I said, I were about the same age when I lived in Cemetery Road when we moved to Montbretton, so I had to change schools. But they changed it when I went for last year at St Dominic's. So I was at St Joseph's, and then last year at St Dominic's. So I understand what it's like changing schools. Yeah. I mean, luckily for me, there were a few kids there were 2 kids, Kevin Loy and Teddy Barker, who were already at St Dominic's and they'd moved. So it were okay knowing somebody there, but I don't know if you knew anybody when you went to.
Only my cousins.
Right.
Like,
but it does help, doesn't
yeah,
it?
Yeah. So I got a few family and that, and it were always nice. But then I had when I got to like 10, 11, I had to go to Wilthorpe.
All right.
For
You had to move to another school.
Yeah.
That is unstable, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it was great time. Not a great time for the rest of the family, but
yeah. Were you footballing back then? So
Yeah.
were you in school football teams?
yeah. So when I were at Lonker and I was 10, I actually played with 18, which were 11-year-olds. So I was pretty decent for my age. And my dad got took really poorly. So there were nobody to like look after us because we were kids. So my Auntie Rita, Jason's mum, and my Uncle Gordon, his dad, they took me. And they said, "Look, we'll take our Ian." And I had to move school. So I live with my Aunt Rita, my Uncle Gordon on Honeywell Street with our Kevin, our Julie and our Jason.
By the way, I've asked your Jason to come on and because of his
that-
job.
Yeah, that'll be a good
He
one.
can't.
I love them all to bits. So I had 12 months here, but one of the stories I can always remember, my first day at Wilthorpe School, I was in this class, and put me in this class, and I was sat there, and I didn't know anybody, and I'm sat there, and I sees this teacher looking, can you remember squares in glass? I can see him looking in, and I thought, oh my God, what's up here? And I saw a teacher who were taking us. So, and he opened it and he says, "Have you got Ian shirt in class?" And I thought, first thing I thought, my dad.
Yeah.
And she says, "Yeah." He says, "Can I have a word with him?" So I went out. I was like trembling. I thought, oh no, I hope no, it's gone off. And he says to me, and it was Mr. Saxon. I don't know anybody what's listening if they went to Wilthorpe, they'll remember. He run football team.
Right.
So he says to me, this is my first day, he says, "Hi Ian, I'm Mr. Saxon." I said, "Oh, and he says, "Have you got your football boots? Have you fetched your football boots?" And I went, "No." I says, I didn't know. He says, "School team's got a football game tonight and we want you to play. If I take you home, can you get them?" So I says, "Yeah." I says, "Yeah, I can." So after school, he like threw me in this car, took me to my Aunt Reed's. I can remember seeing my Aunt Reed, she was cooking tea. And I went in, and when she saw Mr. Saxon, like, ooh, I said, Aunt Ree, I need some football boots. I've been picked for football team. So she gave me our Kevs. She says, here, take these. He'll never use them. Because he weren't best at football, like.
But he's 6 foot odd, isn't he?
Yeah. So I ended up going and playing for school team.
Did they fit?
I think they were his older ones. I mean, they weren't.
You have to put any paper in it.
He'd never played. So I think they bought him with ambition in playing for school team, and he never got in. So they kept him. And anyway, they fitted, and I went, and they all came. My Aunt Ree, my Uncle Gordon, she abandoned all tea. She says, "Come on, we're going to watch our Ian." So
that'll relax you, innit? So once you've played and got to know all lads in that football team.
And one thing I will say, Sam, because like you say, it was another big wrench.
Yeah.
But they absolutely treat me just like one of theirs.
Yeah.
And I mean that in every aspect.
Yeah.
If we're doing out wrong and they got a clip, I got one. Spending money every weekend, I got some.
Yeah.
New clothes, I got some. I was just like the third son at the time.
Yeah.
And they were like my mum and dad. And greatest respect for them.
Ah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So
then that was a good start, straight into the football team.
Yeah.
How did you go on with your exams? Because it's like, obviously, with such a disruption, I imagine that weren't right good on.
Well,
your
11
classwork.
plus. We got first year. I think 11 plus were abolished, so we didn't have to do that and stuff like that. And obviously, I moved back at Worsbrough Common. I think I did it last few months at Lonka, back at Lonka, and at time because 11 plus had been abolished, are the distributed for comps were anybody above Park Road went to either Broadway or Charter.
Yeah.
Anybody below went to Aldgate or high school.
Yeah.
And I lived like in California, so I was just above Park Road, so I got picked up to Broadway.
Yeah.
So that's when I went to comps.
Because California Street, that.
Well, I were on Crescent. You know that one with Big Field?
Yeah, yeah.
I were on that one.
Well, that's with California. I'm sure it was. It was Park Road. It was first and back.
On right or left?
On right as you go.
Yeah, that's street then.
Yeah, so that's where my grandma lived.
Yeah.
And then she moved down to up to New Lodge in one of them.
New.
Them no,
like
no,
Masonette. Oh,
no, them like
prefabs
with wardens and stuff.
Oh right, shelter like a.
Yeah. Every time we went to any of my cousins will tell you. Every time we went to the toilet at my grandma's, don't pull that red cord.
Nah, because it was for emergency.
In fact, on that we were with red cord. I think I pulled it a couple of times, and then you just heard like, hello, Mrs. Cooper, you all right? A big speaker at side of the thing. But we went to Question of Sport with Brody and Almo other week to watch filming, and we stopped in Copthorne, which is just outside Old Trafford, big hotel. And after filming, we went out, had a few beers. We've been boozing all day anyway, so we had a few beers. Got back. Straight to bed, straight to sleep, and I woke up. It was boiling. It was in summer, and it was boiling. And I seen Brody going at bog, and then it was in dark. And the next thing I just heard him, oh, for fuck's sake! And he got one of them. Yeah, he'd pulled red cord. But 5 minutes later, bloke knocking on the door.
Are you all right?
You all right, sir? You all right, sir?
It's easy done. Like I work in a lot of sheltered housing schemes, and they've all got them.
I know.
They're trying to do away with them now. They've got these personalised ones, what either fit on their arms or on the wrists.
And if they fall, it goes off, doesn't it? Yeah. So I'd have thought they'd have had them. But this is an hotel. Like, I mean, I think it needs upgrading a bit, but it is a nice hotel. But you're thinking, why have they got them?
And they usually put them straight next to it, like pole switch as well, don't they?
I know.
So it's
I know.
easy.
Especially in dark. Brody, I never piss in dark. Like, but so your exams, obviously, yeah. So you've not got like no main exams. Then you went up to which?
I went
school?
to Broadway.
What year did you start that? So what were you starting?
So
year?
74, I think.
74.
74. I left in 79.
Right.
And again, not best of starts. And when I tell my sons this story, and my wife knows about it and that because she went to Charter.
Yeah.
All my lads will say, Dad, I want to fucking God me, honestly. And I says, I had to go. My dad, he was strict.
Yeah.
He was fair, but he was strict. I says, I had to go. So, I don't know if you know, but Broadway were always green. Green
Yeah.
jumper,
Yeah.
grey trousers,
Charter
Charter were
blue.
blue.
Yeah.
So,
And Aldgate were grey, wasn't it?
grey and black, yeah. So, come to starting at school, first school year, and I didn't have a uniform. My dad couldn't afford a uniform for me. So I had a blue jumper and some blue trousers on. And we're all, like, queuing up in big playground on Broadway. And there's all these in green and grey. And they're like, all looking at me because I'm in blue. And I didn't know them. And they're saying to me, help me, you're in the wrong school. I said, no, I'm in right school, wrong uniform. and they're all saying, no, you blue's charter. And even teachers were coming up to me and saying, I think you need to be. I'm saying, no, I'm at right one. I'm at right one. Anyway, he eventually got me one of like 2 weeks after. But the amount of times that teachers and anybody pulled me up.
But I think that might have been a good thing because it'll your confidence, because you're having to deal with people all the time. So it's like out of your comfort zone to start with, but after 2 weeks, you probably were well known.
I think everything what happens in your life, Sam, moulds you in some way.
Yeah, you've
right? Good or bad.
You've got to try and learn from every little bit, haven't you? And to be fair, we don't know this until we get older.
No, that's right.
When you're young, you just think, well, the weight at world's on your shoulders.
And I know we're going to talk about it a little bit more later on. I'm a counsellor now, and I'm dealing with a lot of ASBOs and stuff like that. I always remember, my dad didn't drive. He wouldn't have been able to afford a car at the time anyway, but we're always on bus. And I remember being about 12-year-old, and my dad was sat near the window, and I was sat here, and I can remember this old woman getting on, and I got up.
Automatically.
Yeah. I got up and I said, yeah, missus, you can sit here. And she sat down, and I swear to God, I remember my dad was just looking out the window like this, not. And she says, is this your son? And my dad went, yeah, love, why? What's up? What's he doing? She says, oh, he's not doing nothing wrong. She says, he's just got up and let me sit down. And he went, yeah. She says, I bet you're proud of him, aren't you? And he says, well, yeah. He says, well, why not? She says, nobody else. She says, for a young lad to just get up.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad saying, listen, we ain't got no money. We ain't got no, but we've got manners.
Yeah.
And we've got respect. And that's what I learned them. And I thought,
don't cost now, does it?
No,
manners?
correct.
Don't cost now. Respect don't cost
and that always sticks out. And
but you'll have been learnt that by your dad.
Correct.
And what it's like, it's with kids now. If they're at home and the mum and dad's racist or the mum and dad's are ignorant, they're going to be like that because
it's normal.
They don't know any better.
Correct, mate.
They just don't know any better, and there's no what you can really do about it. You can't teach their parents, but you've just got to put your fingers crossed and hope that they do end up with, or they do end up with somebody that has got a bit of respect. I mean, a lot of them's on social media, and you think that like these people that are watching on social media, that they might sort of every now and again put some manners in there. Like,
yeah,
so.
when I was campaigning and this was coming up, this ASBO and stuff like that, I always said it's about education, and I don't mean education in school, education at home, learning them proper manners, right way. If they're seeing the dad and the mum just throw rubbish on the floor when they're out in the street, they'll throw it on the floor.
That absolutely.
Listen, mate.
Do you know what worse is for me is McDonald's bags.
Oh, yeah.
You just full McDonald's. I mean, I've got an house on Wakey Road and it's near KFC. And
yeah.
When I'm saying McDonald's or KFC or any takeaways, and we had to burn some rubbish the other day, and I'd not got the paper. But I went onto Wakey Road and there were like loads of bags, so I was just picking them up to set fire going.
I mean, I usually take my grandson now, Rocco. You might have seen it. He comes litter picking me. In fact, I've just arranged we're going tomorrow, and we did Neville Avenue.
But where did you get them purple bags from?
You can apply for them. You
can
you can get them. Yeah, and litter picker, and it's unbelievable how it's taken off. A lot of people say, "Oh, you shouldn't have to do that." We know we shouldn't, but.
I want to know when you could get them.
You can. I'll explain after.
Right.
You can go on BNBC and their government site and get them. And we picked two bags of rubbish up on Neville Ave and dropped them off, and we're walking back up. And just as we were coming back up, I looked and a car had put, and just dropped a McDonald's bag of rubbish. Oh, and I thought, oh, God,
I know.
they must have been watching, honestly. And I rock up, pointed to it, say to me, and he says, "Look, Grandad." I says, "I know, we'll pick it up and just sweat it bin."
I mean, I don't think there's as much. I don't think there were as much rubbish when we were younger as what they are now.
No.
Probably due to
They didn't
the amount of
take
takeaways,
yeah,
isn't it?
correct.
Like, but we still had that advert that were on telly with that bloke
Yeah.
when he's running and he's throwing stuff and it says, "Don't be a litter bug" or something.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
And they don't. I mean, I never see any government public information stuff on telly.
No.
When we were young, there were
always
loads,
on.
weren't
Charlie
there?
says. Can you remember Charlie says?
Yeah,
Cat.
Charlie says. There were bloke with his kids trying to get ball out in river, holding on to the branch,
Yeah,
and falls in.
yeah.
There were that one.
Yeah, there were a lot of
him on
information.
bike, Mr. whatever they called him, and then him that were doing it reverse. There were loads, yeah, absolutely loads. So you've got you're on your first week at Broadway.
Yeah.
Did you know? Because them two schools were really close together,
Yeah.
and a bit similar to St Michael's and St Helens.
We actually shared dinner room, dining area.
Did you?
Well, our dining area from Broadway were in charter school. We didn't share it,
Yeah.
but we had to go across into their school.
But you actually, from when I were at senior school, from what I can gather, they tended to get on slightly. Or they got on charter. They just didn't like Aldgate.
Yeah, yeah. They're odd. You always got odd ones where they were. But I mean, Donna went to charter. I went to Broadway. So
yeah.
I dare say there were a bit of a loving going on. But yeah. Now Broadway, I think the thing about Aldgate with Broadway and that, because they were both grammar schools at one time.
Yeah.
So there'd been a bit of a. But I had a lot of mates, because when I left Lonker, a lot of my mates were below Park Road. They went to Aldgate.
Yeah.
And I had to go to Broadway. So they were still my mates, although they went to Aldgate. So I didn't have that, because a lot of my mates went there. So.
But they did used to go down.
Oh,
and
yes.
fight.
Yeah, they were scrapping. Yeah, they did, yeah. Yeah, they used to go down. Front fire station, they were like a path what led you down to back top of what we used to call Aldgate Fields.
Yeah, yeah. But this is what I come to understand with schools. It's like, especially our school, which at St Mick's, you had lads from everywhere in Barnsley because they were Catholics. But we used to fight with St Helens all the time. Like, what kind of gang culture? You get drawn in, so big gang would run down there and
chase them off.
Bit like with football stuff. Nah, but then at night they'd probably be on Athersley South laking out together.
Yeah, that's right.
And Athersley North, they all knew each other.
Yeah.
So which were a weird and
well,
funny.
that were pretty similar. With Broadway and Charter, a lot of them, like, they'd have that bit of rivalry at school and chasing each other about, but then they'd all be like upcoming, knocking about together and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, Broadway, it were a good school, to be fair.
And did you all have, because we were on about young'uns and that, like sort of now, not having manners and stuff and not having stuff to do, but what I can remember is when I was young, there were always loads of places to go. So the school discos after school, you could go swimming to different schools.
Yeah.
There were always stuff to do, and then obviously boys' club where a lot of us all that was other thing, and also all these schools all fighting each other. And then everybody went to boys' club.
Yeah, and played in the same boys' school football team. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, I always remember like 12, 13, we used to have Broadway Youth Club.
Yeah.
Which were attached to Charter, and I used to go there like a lot. And again, a lot of lads from Charter and Aldgate used to come, and you mix with them and stuff like that, and everything were all right. And then there were boys' club, but the football weren't same. There were no like kids' football, as in
like these now, academies and stuff like that. Every area's got a team, and there's lots of little leagues. I mean, I don't know whether you agree with me with this. I think when we were younger, I mean, I know you're a bit older than me, but I were around when it all Saturday leagues was. There were 10 Saturday leagues, but I think kids leagues have kind of took over for parents, us
Yeah.
and grandparents that were in them football
That's
leagues,
right,
because that's been decimated. But kids leagues are massive. Yesterday morning I went to Pit Lane at Woomble and went past their school. I couldn't get over how many parents were there and cars, and there were loads of
Yeah.
teams playing on them on Is it Fulston School? Is that what
That's
they call
Darfield,
it?
isn't it, Fulston?
Darfield. That were old school, wasn't it? Or is that new one?
No, Fulston were old school.
What's the new one called?
I don't know. They've all got new academy names.
But it was that back road. You go down where Lidl is, and I went round there, and
I
all
know what you
football
mean.
fields are there.
Get to that roundabout and turn left.
Yeah, but it's Pit Lane.
Yeah,
and I imagine they're called pit fields.
I know what you mean. In fact, Barnsley schoolboys train there and play
Do they?
sometimes.
It is. It's a good setup. But I couldn't get over how many parents were there. It was just absolutely rammed. There's loads on sidelines as well, you know.
Which is great.
It is, yeah.
It's
but
great.
that's what it was like when we played Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
People came and watched, and
it's
had the
great.
big games.
I mean, as you know, I've been involved with football a long time.
Yeah.
Not as much now, but like I'm hoping to go and watch my grandson play this afternoon.
Yeah.
And I've always said, get them mixing. Give them something to like.
Yeah.
Like you said, bring them out of the shell. Get them used to like discipline and stuff like
social.
that. Yeah,
it's social.
So, yeah, I mean, when I played on Saturdays, there were like 10 leagues.
I know.
10 leagues.
What at school? Because we'll get onto this a bit later on. But at school, how did you go on academically?
I would say I wasn't never brightest, but I weren't in plasticine class. I were
Desk bangers.
no, I were like mid-table type thing. And again, I don't think you realise when you're at school how much you're really enjoying it.
I know.
I always excelled in sports and games. I did end up with a maths O level. Don't ask me how, because it was GCSE then at the time, and it was grade 1. And I ended up with a maths O level, which I used to enjoy maths.
GSE, wasn't it?
GCSE, I think.
That's what it is.
Oh,
now.
GSE. Oh, I don't know that. It was something like, but it was grade 1.
Yeah, it was GSE.
Which what?
I was on about this before on one of my podcasts. It might have even been mine, but I was on about sort of I lost all my enthusiasm when you had to do an exam in second years to decide what exams you were going to do, whether you were going to do CSEs or whether you were going to do O levels.
Oh, right.
And I just assumed I'd end up in top class because I just thought I was bright. I was brighter than a lot of others. I don't know. I just thought I was. And then they went, "Oh, you didn't C class," and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" They were like, and I knew then because I knew I wouldn't get any O levels.
Yeah.
If I were in O level group, you could get like I don't know, you could go A, B, C, D, right
like a
down,
grade, and still it O level.
and you'd still get your O level. With GCSEs, this is what I was GCSEs, you had to get nearly 90% to get a grade 1, which were more or less, I thought, impossible.
That's how I eat it.
I didn't even get one in woodwork. I thought, well, that was my favourite
Going back
subject.
to something similar to you, we had what they called options. So when you got to like your third or your fourth year, they gave you what they called options.
You could take this, or this.
Well, I was always good in art and design. Drawing. I used to love drawing. But because it didn't like sculpture me into where I wanted to go, he said to me, like in more options, he says, no, discard that, we'll put you in chemistry. What?
And
you wanted
to do that, and they've pushed you in the other direction.
Right. What a waste of time I was in chemistry. I didn't have honest to God, I didn't have a clue.
That is hard.
Yeah. and I think I ended up with a U. They didn't even bother marking me. If I don't know if I filled out in on test, because I just didn't. It weren't for me.
Yeah.
But
and other thing as well, I don't know if you'll agree with this. I found that if you didn't like teacher or you didn't get on with teacher,
correct, it's a big thing.
You didn't do well in that lesson. And I see this with our sonny. He'll go, he's good at art, and I'll go, how come you're good at art? And he says, I like teacher.
Yeah.
So teachers making lesson interesting. If you're in a lesson where teacher ain't bothered, and there's going to be some, because we don't know what's going off in their lives outside, they could be up and down, kids aren't going to be interested.
And that's other way, like I was looking at it. If you're interested in what they're trying to teach you, you'll learn and you'll pick up.
Yeah.
If you're not, like I was in chemistry, no matter what he was trying to tell me, I was just like
Looking out the window.
yeah, I was oblivious to it.
Thinking about football.
Yeah, well, it's true because
Yeah.
I had no interest, not one bit of interest. In chemistry? I thought, what am I doing in here?
But I was like that from from third years on. I was just
Yeah, well, I think that was third, fourth year, something like that.
yeah. I knew I could kind of moonwalk my exams because all I used to say all the time to my mum and dad, they'd be like, "Oh, you need to be revising." I said, "You only got to write your name on paper and they'll pass you for a CSE."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I think you start learning more when the day you leave school. That's when your life.
You definitely do. It's this, and this is one of the reasons why I've sort of been doing these interviews on podcasts, just to show kids, if they do listen to it later on, that it don't matter what you're doing when you leave school, you'll end up branching off and going in different directions. There's 55-year-old people still don't know what they want to do in life.
Yeah.
They're in a job and they still don't want to do that job.
Yeah.
And they've been doing it since they left school. And nowadays, with social media and World Wide Web and all that stuff like that, and information, you can change direction. You can learn online and stuff like that, which is brilliant. And if they'd have had it when we were younger, we don't know what we might have been doing.
Well, that's right.
Might have been a brain surgeon.
Well, you don't, do you? And that's what I'm saying about things moulding you. And I agree with you, Sam. You might not have best academic background, but that doesn't mean to say that you can't achieve what you're trying to achieve. You know that.
I mean, one of the things that they don't learn in schools is finance, and I don't mean maths finance. I mean just basic bank accounts.
Yeah.
Saving money, spending money, and stuff like that. I think our Sonny was saying that they might be fetching something like that in, but they've been saying that for quite a few years.
I mean, I remember being in my 30s, self-employed, and people kept saying to me, "You need a pension," and the last thing on my mind was a pension.
I know.
And now I'm getting to that stage. I mean, I've got a pension, but at that stage, last thing I wanted to hear about pensions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where now, as you get older, you think to yourself, and I try to say to my sons now, who's 30s, listen, I want the same as you. Get yourself a good pension. Make sure that when you leave...
Do you know the reason why I didn't I got one when I was 21 with Prue, who my mum and dad's insurance, and I don't know how long I had it for, but I can remember him telling you amount of money that you needed to put in to get that equivalent wage.
Yeah.
And it was like something like a third, and I was like, I can't afford that.
That's right. I
can't
agree.
afford that. And then when I thought about what happens to your pension when, if you die, if you're married, your partner might get 2/3 of that pension or whatever, or it might be 3/4 of that pension. And then when she dies, it's gone, and that's my thing. So but now we're fetching government's fetched a scheme out where you can access your pension at 55, but if you're savvy, there's a way that you can self-manage a pension, and this is what I've been kind of going down. And when you self-manage your pension will not die with you. You can pass this on to your kids, and a lot don't know this, but you can pass it on to your kids. And I think it's called a SIP, SI, summer pension, and that's the thing that I'll be looking at when I start. So you leave school.
Yeah.
Did your careers teacher tell you? Did he show you an option of things you could do? Because I mean, a lot of people I've spoken on here, they've said they never saw a careers teacher.
I can't remember seeing a careers teacher. I think we did have them.
Yeah.
I think we did have them. When I left school, you were either going down pit, in construction, or something similar to that.
Yeah.
I started working at 14-year-old for a butcher, as a butcher's lad. And it's sad, really, because that butcher... You know Agnes Road, don't you?
Yeah.
And you know Dean.
Yeah.
You know Dean Lavery.
Yeah. Brian's
Butchers.
It's shut in, isn't it?
Yeah, which is sad. Because
I'm going to ask him this, but I thought it were a bit... I wanted to ask what they call it, boss?
Dean?
No, other guy, Marco.
Marco?
I was going to ask him whether he owned building, and I don't think did they rent it?
I don't know. When I was 14, I started across road
Yeah.
at Brian Spy's. And I'm a butcher's lad.
Well, that way they used to do preparation.
No.
Because
Across,
there
there
were
were two
another-
butchers.
Yeah.
So Brian Spy, as you were going towards Park Grove,
Yeah.
Brian Spy were on right, and on opposite side, where Dean's is now, that were Jack Marsh
Right.
butchers. And Brian used to always want Jack Marsh's shop because it's sun. Jack never had to have a sunblind down for meat.
Yeah.
Where Brian used to have to go out and pull the sunblind down.
He got it eventually, didn't he? 'Cause he
Yeah,
used to have it as a store.
so I'm saying, so Brian then, I'd left then though, but Brian moved across road. Then he sold it to Bry Mason, and Bry Mason sold it to Dean and Marco.
Right.
But it's sad that the butchers was being there all the time. And that's why I come out at butchering, because supermarkets were taking over. People, it was cheaper, so they go to the supermarket, do the shopping and buy the meat while they were there. And these little butcher shops,
They had a bit of resurgence just after COVID, didn't they? Or during COVID and just after, because
I think they are now.
people, yeah. And
I think they are now.
But what's killing them is this price increase in energy, because they can't afford
I've got to admit now,
energy and stuff.
I try to buy my meat either from a local butcher or from Barnsley markets.
Yeah.
We were in yesterday, me and wife. We get all this meat from there, and nobody can tell me
Quality's-
you can't tell.
Mel went other week and she fetched me a fillet back from one at is it Crawshaw's, a butcher's at I'm sure they call them Crawshaw's. There's a few of them, but they're a local butcher's like, and she got these fillets, fetched them back, and she cooked them, and difference with
Unbelievable, mate.
even with Aldi ones and
Yeah.
Asda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that you can't tell the difference, but I fully understand that people, because you do pay a little bit extra.
Yeah.
I do fully understand that people are going to still buy from Aldi's and stuff like that because they've got to, and I ain't a problem with that.
I think it's because it's while they're there. It's because everything's there. I'll just get this. Rather than making a separate trip to, unless you live on road, you can walk.
But going
there.
back to Dean's and Brian's, I've always said, and it's a fact, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
And once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
I had somebody put something on my council page about there's no pubs in Kendry. Well, when I first started going around Kendry, there were 7 pubs. And I've got to hold my hand up, and I said to the wife, we were a part of that. We decided we weren't going to go in them pubs.
Yeah.
And they're closed. And it's too late then.
But he did. What I'd say is years ago in the 80s, I think what's made pubs decline, and this is just my opinion, is just our tellies have evolved and you can. It's same with cinemas. You can get a telly now, so good quality that you can stop in and watch a film rather than go to pictures and stuff.
I think there's a lot of reasons why pubs and stuff like that in villages and that don't work now. Closing up mining, when people work in shifts.
Business rates.
Right.
Business rates.
Yeah,
is a big
stuff like that. But like it what social hub. That local pub what social hub.
Yeah.
So people were being out days, like your miners,
Yeah.
are calling have a few pints with their mates and stuff like that. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, go out with wife, Saturday, Sunday.
Miners, because they'd been underground for that long, they didn't want to stay in house.
Correct.
They wanted to be out.
And,
because you go down, you've got 12 hours down a dark thingy.
Yeah.
Last thing you want to be is in a small house.
So I think that's one of the big things. But anyway, going back to me, I left school. I went to butchers for a bit, and then I knew that weren't thing. So I got into construction. Harry Clark.
This is where me and you first
This
met.
is where we first met,
Yeah,
Sam.
we are.
I remember this long-haired young lad come in as a plasterer with his
Handsome, you missed
guitar,
that- you missed
handsome, with his guitar, saying that I've got to keep practicing my guitar. And I mean, I look back on Harry with absolute great fondness.
I know.
Stories, Sam.
Just
I
a
could sit
character,
here.
wasn't he?
I could sit here for days talking about stories with Harry.
I know.
About Harry. I will tell you one about how we got into damp proofing.
And this and just as a caveat, this is first time I've sort of as a plasterer, as a young plasterer, still at college. This is my sort of
work experience.
Yeah, we damp proofing. I didn't know what damp proofing was,
No.
but Harry was doing drilling, injecting and stuff and that. And this is, I mean, it's how I knew it were wrong in some respects, but it's how I knew how I first got into it as a specialist thing. And go on, you tell your story.
It was a new thing, weren't it? People were selling houses that wanted damping. Oh, you've got to get it drilled and injected.
So this is early 80s.
So me and Harry used to build bricklaying, roofing, stuff out. Anyway, I get in van one day with him and he says to me,
Hey, were you the same age?
no, Harry were a bit older than me. Harry, I think he were about 4 or 5 years older than me. And he turned to me and he says to me, we're not brickies now. So I says, all right, what are we then? And he says, we're damp proofers. Well, I says, damp proofers? I says, what's that? He says, we're going to go do a damp proofing job. Well, we hired a machine from 80.
Yeah.
Can you remember 80?
Yeah.
So we turns up at this kid's house on, I don't know if it was Blenheim Road.
Was this short or did you have
Just me and him.
Did you have Cole with you then?
No, just me and him. And this kid had chopped all plaster off ready for us, meter high, took all skirting boards off. I'm sure it was down St George's Road or Blenheim Road. It was that area. Harry knew it, lad. I didn't know him. He might have been at his age groups. So I says to him, what am I doing like? And he says, just drill these bricks. And he marked. It says, about inch and a half into brick, there, all the way around. And then I'll follow your hand, injecting. So I says, oh, right. So I starts drilling. Well, it got machine set up wrong, Harry. I was covered in it was Sovereign. Can you remember Sovereign?
It was silicon-based
That's
high
it.
pressure system.
So it's going everywhere. So Harry says, there's something up with machine. I'm going to have to go and get another one. So Harry couldn't drive at the time. He was banned.
Yeah.
So he says to this kid, me and Ian will go back and pick another machine up. So the kid says, shall I carry on drilling? So he says, yeah. So when we come back with this new machine, he's actually drilled all holes. God's honest truth this time. So we get this new machine going and kid down at shop had shown us how to do it. We've got pipes in wrong. Anyway, we gets it working straight. So Harry says, we're going to take this machine back because they want it back. So he said, well, I'll carry on with this one. So he carries on. When he gets back, he's injected it all. So he's basically drilled it and
Done
chopped
job
it
he
off,
said.
drilled it, yeah. So he bangs everything in van. And I can remember standing up thing and this kid says, how much do I owe there, Harry? He says, just gives 200 quid.
And he done what he said.
And I thought, it's not about that. I said, I can see why they want to get into damp proofing. It's all right.
I know. The thing is, though, it were like writing checks. It
Oh,
was like,
yeah.
Back then, all these houses. I want to say there were more houses that not got a damp proof course. There probably were, because at the minute it's a lot of issues as bridging issues now, because a lot's been done. But back then, and it were a lot of roofers that were doing damp proofing for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It were a lot of roofers. But yeah, one of the first jobs I went on with, we weren't one at first. It was an extension you were building down, Park Road at bottom.
Yeah.
Sheffield. So Sheffield Road comes along, Park Road. It were them houses over to left them. I think they were.
That Wood Street.
Yeah, you built an extension on
Ah,
there.
that's right. It was next to
And
Harry's mother-in-law at the time.
and I'd gone. I think we were doing some plastering upstairs, and this bloke come. I keep seeing him now walking up and down, and he says, he knew Harry, and we were talking to Harry and that, and he says, anybody want to buy a ladder? And I needed one, and I says, how much? He says, 15 quid, and I says, I'll have one. Naive as all, I just thought, oh, he's one of his old ladders or something. He says, wait here. He went, he said, I'll be about 10 minutes. Come back with ladders on his shoulders after 10 minutes. Give me them. They were covered in they'd got roofer's tar on them and everything. And it were only, I think, about a few months after and that. And I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if he's gone and just nicked
While he
him.
was up on
Yeah. Somebody's on a roof and he's just walked off with him or something. But Yeah, you got offered a load of tools and that.
I look back and the amount of characters what were about then doing door knocking, all that stuff. And I'm not going to mention names because some of the families are still alive, and it's not fair. But I used to go in Silkstone with Harry on a Friday, like dinner time when we finished work and stuff, and they'd all be in with they'd been across Pennines, doing the door knocking and that, and stories. And honest to God, Sam, I mean, it couldn't happen now. Well, they won't allow it to happen now because of laws and stuff. But
I know.
Some tricks they got up to. I remember this year day.
But when you know when you were doing drilling and injecting,
Yeah.
this is one of the things I can remember. I never did it, but they called him, didn't they? What labourer? I'm sure they did. It was Daz Rhodes's.
I can't remember Col.
He was a labourer.
But he had a few. Steve Butcher from up Penistone. He laboured. Well, they were at Dodworth at the time.
No, I might not have called him Col.
Mick Renner.
I remember Renner, and God bless him. Yeah. But he said it was like when it makes it figure eight, you pull it out.
Was that me and John Abbott?
No.
Oh, because Johnny worked with Harry for a bit.
No, it just like a scruffy bloke with like that. I don't know where they are with you when he got that. He got a tramp labouring on me. There was a bloke. He was a tramp labouring on me. A proper. He were homeless, and we were doing an house down Stairfoot on Main Road, and Harry had left cement mixer and sand and cement, and this bloke was supposed to be mixing up. Soon as what they call it, is it that club corner? Soon as it opened at 11 o'clock, he disappeared. He'd gone in there, buzzing.
Weren't Jack?
No. It was just a scruffy chap. We're only there for 2 days, but just typical Harry, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, go in, I'll buy you a few pints or something.
Yeah. And them's characters I'm talking about. I mean, I met them all. With Harry, I met them all, and
Yeah, that bird who were driving, what they call her. She worked at Gents, but she wanted a bit of extra cash, so she was to.
Oh,
because he couldn't drive, she was driving lorry.
Oh, yeah.
She tried to. We were coming on what they call it on.
Bloody hell! I can't think. She was from Dodworth.
Yeah, we're driving on what the dark air. We're driving. Driving on Cutting Edge, and there's that sharp turning down into is it James Street?
Ah, yeah.
And she tried turning there. Obviously, brakes had gone. She went straight into the wall.
I remember her. I can't remember her name now. It'll come back to me, but I remember one of the days we going back with Johnny. There were me, Johnny, and Harry, and we'd done this job, and it got to about 3 o'clock, and we were like packing up, and Harry says, "Oh, I just need to nip to Gold Street, with little job on." And we're like, "Oh, come on, Harry, it's 3 o'clock. We want to get." He says, "Take us half an hour." He says, "While Johnny's mixing sand and cement up in a bucket, they put ladder up. Johnny will run up." He says, "It's just a ridge tile, bottom of hip, put it back on, point it up. While Johnny's cleaning bucket out, they put ladders back on the roof. We've done." So he says, "Hey, all right." So we gets to go seeing this bloke. So we follows instructions, so we gets it done. Half an hour. So this bloke's getting Harry money, and we sat in van. Me and Johnny sat in van. We were waiting to get off. And it was a nice day, window were down, and Harry's walking back. And as he's walking back towards us, this bloke's saying, "So, Mr. Clark, if it comes off again," and Harry's saying, "Just phone me up, FOC, FOC." That was Harry.
Yeah.
Walking with that little bit of a limp. So, he's saying, "What?" He says, "Phone me, FOC." So he gets in the van, so me and Johnny says, "What, I'm going to come back free of charge?" He says, "No, fuck off, cunt."
Typical Harry.
That was Harry.
I know.
That was Harry. God bless him.
I know.
But
did you all go to college then? Did you do
No.
So you didn't do a...
No. I picked it up. To be fair, Harry set me off. Because and this is what I said to my sons, I weren't happy. I weren't happy just to mix gobbo and stand and watch somebody.
Yeah.
So I wanted to... So I learnt it all.
Yeah.
And he learnt me, to be fair to him, and then I went to a company called George Beard and Sons at Penistone.
Yeah.
Where, again, I was picking it up, and I went as like a semi-skilled, and I worked with plasterers when there were no bricklaying, but I worked with brickies. So I was picking it up all the time and picking good traits from all trades. So you knew what they'd expect and you knew how they worked and stuff like that. And that's how it started. And then I worked with a kid called Pete Alderton, what's got Boatman's Rest now, building extensions and stuff, and went on his own. We built.
Did you know him already, or did you meet him
Pete.
through football? Because obviously Pete was a good footballer.
Pete lived on Tower Street when we lived on Callies, so
Yeah.
I knew Pete. I knew a big Bowie fan,
Yeah.
same as I was.
Well, Pete were at Halls when I first went there. I told you a story about Pete. He was bricklayer at Cuddiff Builders.
That's right. I did, yeah.
And
That's
we wrote.
what SM Halls or something like that.
Yeah, SM Halls.
Yeah.
And so much stuff there. I mean, I've told this story before. They built this massive. We were doing some farmhouses at what they call it place now, Upton Pagnell, and they built this. There were a massive scaffold that ran across front of farm buildings, and they were putting Yorkstone flags on roof. You know them.
Yeah.
And they needed to get them up
With pegs.
Yeah, they didn't want to be carrying them up, so they built this this like a tower out of scaffold, and they put a winch on top, an hoist on top, and they built like a crate out of scaffold. So you imagine weight of that.
Yeah.
So they built this massive thing, and we could see it before we went home before, and they're saying, yeah, tomorrow we're going to fill that up, and then we'll just pull it with dumper.
I'm getting a picture here.
And it'll pull, and so that'll pull it up, and then they'll just take them off at scaffold.
Yeah.
So first thing in the morning, like while working with old plasterer Bry, he says, "Just want to watch these do this." He said, I can't get in my head how they're going to do this." So we waited. So we stood there, and he gets dumper, and they filled it up with these. I mean, you know how heavy they are.
Oh, someone was this big.
Yeah. So they filled it up, and then obviously weighted thing that they'd made, cradle that they'd made, and scaffold boards. And so there was this Roy got in dumper. Pete was stood on top of the scaffold with his joiner, and he's like, right. So they started pulling it, and it just pulled all scaffold over.
I know.
And luckily, he fell in sand, but he broke his ribs, so he was off work for God knows how long. And I think that was kind of last time he was there. I think he left not long after that. But yeah, some of the stuff that they're up to.
Well, I was playing football with Pete, and he took me to.
Because he was funny and all.
Oh yeah, a good lad. Went to J Services, and we went working there, and we actually built. Me and Pete we did it. We were subbies. We were on. Can you remember Ticket?
Yeah.
SC60.
Yeah.
So we were on that, and when work dropped down, they'd like let you go, and then come back like 3 weeks later. Oh, we've got some jobs on, and you go back, and it were a bit hit and miss, and we used to do his homework in between, and John Stainsby had Boatman's Rest.
Yeah.
And Pete lived next door but one to Rest. And he says to me, John's asked us to build a big extension on Boatman's Rest for restaurant part. So I said, oh, sound. And it just dropped where we got laid off from J Services. So we says to John, look, can we start this? And he says, yeah. So we started it. And I can remember we were there building it. It was massive. And in the meantime, Gaffer from J Services come down and said, oh, we need you to start back Monday. So Pete says, what? And I says, bollocks to him. But let's stop here. Let's get this done. Let's not let John down. He's helped us out, like. So we ended up setting up as ANS builders.
Yeah.
And that's how we went. And we went to Germany together. When we came back from Germany, I set up on my own. Started doing a little bit, doing extensions and that. Ardeen, who were out with you last week, put him through his apprenticeship. Fully trained apprentice bricklayer. His mate put him through his apprenticeship. Epi, Mark Epp, he comes as an apprentice, got him through his. So I did all right. And then I had a few scares health-wise, what I thought were work-related.
Yeah.
As in stress from chasing, getting your money
I can remember I used to see you regularly down at Travis Perkins. And
that's right. With Tommy.
And I don't think you were happy with business side of things.
No.
So
So
yeah,
then,
work side were fine,
Yeah.
but that business side, and I think it were round about what it round about when crash happened, 2008.
Well,
Was it around then, or what it
it
earlier?
were a bit earlier than that. I packed up working for myself in 2005.
Did your
2004.
young un carry it on though?
No. We went to new build.
Right.
We went to new build. I went to new build as a manager, and he said he'd take my sons with me.
Right.
Bob Pell, and that's what it was. I started with them. Then I went to Ackroyd and Abbott's as a site manager. Went to Lovell doing decent homes work in Sheffield. Lovell, we packed in at 2010 because we contract were up. I went to Mears in Scunthorpe as a site manager. Went to Tamworth. I've been in Tamworth 10 years now.
Did you have to take some exams?
Oh
or?
yeah.
So did you have to go back to college and do some exams, or did they do them on site?
Well, I've done a few, to be honest, Sam. I've done some MVQs where I went to Coventry College.
Yeah.
University of Wessex, whatever it's called. I don't know. It's Coventry anyway. I did my business diploma there.
Did you find this is one of the things that I found, and I think you might agree on this, because everything was what you'd been doing in your job, you'd have found it easier, and it were more and it were more interesting as well. So you kind of excel in them exams as well, because it's just interesting, and you're wanting more knowledge, and you can see a pathway, more money, better work.
Yeah, and like I say, I even now. I think I see kids bricklaying, and I miss it. I know it's daft, but I do miss it, because as in football and stuff, construction, it's a great place to meet good mates and characters and stuff like that.
There's a satisfaction to get as well when you've grafted all week and you get paid. If you've done that all your life, there's something in that. Like with me, if I've had a week of just doing surveys. And then I've gone and done some stuff on houses and that, and I've not actually sort of got tools out.
Yeah.
You miss that satisfaction.
Yeah, and
you don't miss aching all of it. Like
not only that, I was always one of them. Was when I built a wall or an extension, I stood back and looked at it with pride, like you said, with pride, and looked and thought, that looks well. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
And that's why I always said to lads on decent homes work, what we induct and come in, some good lads, I always say, don't look at it as a council house. When you've done your job, look at it and think, would I be happy with that in my house?
That's
and
it.
if answers then if it's no, then you need to really look at it and say, well,
if it's wrong. Yeah. If you've got niggles at the back of your mind.
So
if you don't think it's right, it probably isn't.
And that's where I am. But yeah, I started with Harry, then George Beard and that, and George Beard were a great company, Penniston, and that's when you're on about Yorkshire. When I first went to George Beard's. I don't know if you remember it, but Thurleston Road, as you go down Thurleston Road, across from, is it Penniston Swimming Baths?
Yeah.
He lived across there.
Right.
And because he were at Penniston Way, predominantly they were like roofers and plasterers, but they were breaking into construction side, and that's where I got involved with my job and that. But a lot of time when you weren't bricklaying, you'd be carrying them up.
Yeah.
Some of them had like a sponge ring, and they carry them up on the beds. But they started off with big ones at bottom, and then they gradually
I'm just thinking now, it rings a bell, George Beard and Sons. It rings a bell because I did a job for him at what they call it, Royston, corking plant. Across from corking plant, that were part of NCB, and it were some working some showers. And I were only young. I don't know, only been about 20. But I was self-employed, and I had to give him a price and everything, and it all went. But I ended up, obviously, I'd have been cheap, and I ended up getting it, and they took me 25% off. But they were a biggish company.
Yeah.
And
George Beard, he lived at Honeywell. I didn't know at the time when I lived at Mount Reach, but he lived at top of Mount Reach Street on Honeywell Street in a bungalow.
Coincidence.
Yeah. And I've got to admit, he was a gentleman.
Yeah.
He was only small in stature, but he was absolutely a gentleman, and it was a privilege to have worked for him.
Yeah.
But when you said that, I worked for him during strike, 84 strike, obviously doing construction, and we did shower room at Grimethorpe.
Right.
While strike were on. NUM said, look, go in.
So you had
and
to
we
go
had to have
through picket line.
Yeah, but we had to have special, like...
Saying you're not minors.
Yeah.
Right.
But they used to check that, every day when you got there.
Yeah.
They'd be checking your van and everything. They let us in, because we were saying to them, look, we're trying to get it ready for when you come back. That
It's only it's like deputies. My dad went through strike because as a deputy, he never crossed a picket line. He just wouldn't. But they knew that deputies were looking after safety at the pit.
Yeah.
When they went back,
so it were ready for him to go back to. And that's. But they used to check us, which I had a problem with that. But yeah, we did. So I know they did NCB work.
Yeah. It was just one of them things. And I was like, as a young un trying to price and for what you see and think is a big company, and I was just doing normal work for just houses for customers who own their own houses, and then you're thinking you're going to get in with like a bigger company, or they might set me on but
he were a good bloke, George, really nice bloke, and I always remember he always used to give us £20 for Christmas.
Yeah,
always, that without fail. And I remember we broke up for Christmas, and I was walking through town, and our dean had been, he was in his pushchair, so it had been about 2 years old, something like that. And he come walking on Cheapside, and I said, hey, George, and he says, hey, hope you're all right, are you ready for Christmas? I says, yeah, sound. He says, oh. I said, oh, he's my lad. I think we'd only got him at the time. And he says, yeah, and he gave me a tenner. And I said, no, he says, get him something from his Uncle George. And things like that, you just think, what a bloke.
I know.
Kind, and so, yeah.
So you're going up, moving up.
Up ladder.
And obviously missing Brick Lane and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Germany.
What do you reckon about? There were a lot from England went over. What were you working on over there?
First thing we worked on was at Aldi.
Really?
Aldi supermarket. Yeah. In a place called Seafelt. But a lot were going out from Barnsley, and we were like, me and Pete were like.
Did you know it's the Aldi's? It was one company, and the family. I think guy that owned it died, and then two relations took over it, and then they ended up falling out, and it got split into two bits. So this is a fact for you. So you've got blue Aldi, which we've got down here. Then you've got the like orange and black Aldis, and the two different.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, both Aldis, but the two different families that own them. Yeah.
Oh.
So,
well, I don't know which one we were on, but it was two lads from Barnsley were set a company up over there. Glyn Littlewood, you'll know his brother Al, plasterer, and Stu Farmer. And I think they'd taken the redundancy and used the money to set up over there. And we went to, a lot of Barnsley lads were over there when we went.
Because it were better money, wasn't it?
Oh, it were good money. And the reason we took chance, right, were around about this time, September, Christmas looming, and it was like work were going down. There were no work.
Yeah.
And we took decision, me and Pete, to go out there.
Did you, when you were out there, obviously, a lot of plastering tools from them, but after lads had been out doing, I mean, they went working on like in Germany, and then they were working on Disneyland Paris, working out there. But they came back, and there were all these like different tools, like
I remember me and Pete
things.
in Manchester Airport. I don't know if we're going out for a second time, because we used to fly out. We used to have 3 months at a time out there to save money to travelling back and that all the time. And there were a kid from Liverpool, and I can remember them old rucksacks what they used to have them for school and that.
Yeah.
And he got plasters hawking and trowel and his small tools and everything. And we got talking to him in Manchester Airport. We said, "Where you going, mate?" He said, "Oh, I'm going out to Germany. I'm working out in Germany." He said, "All right, well," he said, "Oh, I'm a plasterer." And we went, "No, not near them, mate." And he said, "What?" He says, "They don't plaster like us over here." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "It's a big it's a machine, and it's a big spatula." He said, "You're joking, aren't you?" I says, "No." So anyway, we went over, and about 3 weeks, every Sunday we used to go into Berlin. We were about 50 minutes from Berlin, so we used to go on train, go to Berlin, because Premier League were on. So we used to go into Irish bar, Oscar Wilde's, have a bit of shepherd's pie and some veg and watch a match. And used to meet, all English lads used to go from all over, like, we bumped into him. Just started going to him and says, "Oh, how are you going on?" He says, "Oh, sound, mate." So I said, "That's plastering going." He said, "I'm not plasterer." I said, "I'm a bricklayer now."
So it changed.
So he were over there, so he must have thought, I better.
Yeah.
So, to be fair to him, he were out earning money and he did what he had to do. But yeah, they were good times. And I still keep in touch with a lot of lads what were out there. And we have reunions now and again. And
Yeah. So let's talk about your football career.
Football career, right.
But you've played for, at local level, you've played for some of the best teams in Barnsley, haven't you? So
Well, I don't know. I never played for others, I reckon. They won all trophies, but
you played at Oatwell.
I never played at Oatwell. I've managed at Oatwell.
Oh, right, I've got that wrong then.
Yeah, I've never
Sack
played.
researcher.
I've never played at Oatwell. That's one of the things what I've got to admit.
I find that hard to believe because
I do.
You've
I
played
do
for
because
some
I played
good
in
teams.
eight. I played in 8 semi-finals.
Fucking hell.
So I started off footballing again. We all raggy lads at Worsbrough Common, and it was just hard to.
But that's our teams. Our teams came about back then, wasn't it? So if you went in one pub would go, "Oh, we're going to set a team up," or they already had a team, and you joined that team because you went in that pub. I mean, like I said, Lock Park, Oakleaf, just all them round.
So that's exactly how it happened, Sam. So we left school at 16, and I played through football all through school years and stuff like that. And one day I sees my mate, and he's walking up Worsbrough Common, and I just said, "Help, Tony." I said, "Where are you going?" He says, "Oh, we're training." I said, "Training?" He says, "Yeah, White Bear." I said, "What's that?" He says, "We've got a football at Sunday side." He says, "Get your boots, we'll go." Anyway, I went up, and Dave Armitage was manager. Another, God bless him, another great character, great bloke. And I get to the end, Tony says to him, "Is it all right if my mate trains with us?" And Dave says, "Hammer." He says, "Of course he is." So I trained. And he says to me, after the training session, he says, who do you play for then? And I says, "I don't play for nobody." So he says, "Here, sign this form." Sign this form. So I signed. And at time, on Sundays, Eyston Road, but like our area, that was best side. The all best players play for Eyston Road and stuff like that. And I play for White Bear. I think I had two, maybe 3 years at White Bear. And they were all raggy lads. Nelly Littlewood, Dick Taylor, Ralph Dyson at nets, Kieran Wright, Mark Wheelhouse. We all used to drink together. We were all mates together, and we all play football. And we had a good side. We got promotion, won league, joint winners at league. But Eyston Road come calling, and like I thought this is chance, like, and I think there were 3 on us, but left White Bear to go to Eyston Road.
Yeah.
And I started playing with Eyston Road on Sundays. Again, a good side. Gary Hooley, Tony Rose came. Who else were there? There were a lot of good players, and I struggled.
Tony Rose had been young then, no?
Oh, he was only young then, yeah. Yeah, he was only a young lad.
He'd been like Leighton.
Yeah, and he was a good player. And at time, my cousin run it, who played for Barnsley, Pete Lawton. And I remember, because I was working with Pete, he was running Broadway Youth, and he kept saying, "Come and play with us, at least you'll get a regular game." And I said, so I went to see Gordon Jepson, who was secretary at Eyston Road football team. And I says, I've spoke to our Pete. To be fair to our Pete, I asked our Pete, I said, "Look, I'm not happy that I'm only playing 9 a game when he don't turn up or when he don't turn up." And he said, "Well, to be honest," and they were good lads, who I was trying to get inside for. It were like your Dave Burrows, your Kev Cross, what a bit older than me, but good players. And I could see, that I were going to struggle to get in at centre half and stuff. But he were honest with me, and he says, "You're not in my plans. I'll be honest with you." So I went to see Gordon. I said, "I want to go," and he says, "No, don't listen to your Pete. We, because I was a young lad." He says, "We want you to, your future." Anyway, cut a long story short, I ended up going to Broadway with Pete, and I enjoyed that. They were a good side, good footballing side, but they're one of them what were never going to win out, but they were always going to be mid-table, and they'd always beat top sides, but they'd lose at bottom. And so they're one of them kind of sides. But They were great lads. Timmy Murray, Johnny Murray, all them sorts of lads. What like, yeah, great fun on football field, but better fun off it with them because the in pub and that they were just hilarious. So that was Saturdays. I went down Worsbrough Bridge as a young lad. Got picked to go with first team, and I didn't go because they're all travelling. It put me off.
Yeah, because you were all over country, weren't you?
Yeah, I played for Kingston. All I got to Kingston was I was playing Sundays with a lad called Gary Oyle at White Bear, and he says to me, "Oh, you're playing Saturdays, Ian?" Because I used to follow Barnsley, and I said, "I'm not playing Saturdays," and he says, "We're struggling at Kingston." He says, "Ideal for us. Come." So I went up, and it was Dennis Crowcroft and Vin Crowcroft what were running it. And because my brothers lived up Kingston, I thought it's ideal really. And they played Oil and Nether this year day, and Vinny says, "You can't play today because you've got to be signed on so many days." Which I said, "Yeah." He says, "But come and watch us, and we'll sign you on straight after." And they lost 9-0. So we're in club after, and he says to me, "Do you still want to sign?" And I says, "I think you need somebody." I said, I think I better like. I said, "I don't know if we can stop it from being 9-0, but yeah." So I ended up playing with Kingston, and then I had a bit of a fallout with Dennis. Oh, I loved a bit, so he was a great bloke, but we had a fallout, which, you know,
He's doing football, yeah.
It happens with football. And I think that was me trying to protect younger lads.
Yeah.
Like Amy and them, and had a fallout. And I ended up going to Priory Arms. And that's where I played some of my best football. They were, and that we played 8 semi-finals. They were a great football side.
I'm sure I've liked, because on Saturdays and that I used to have my boats in car, and I used to go watching different teams and that. But I used to go down Lunwood.
Yeah.
Knocker Lake with you.
Knocker played with us.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So Knocker, if you was short, I'm sure either late for you or Lunwood. I'm sure I've late for Priory.
You might have done, mate.
You know, when somebody, under somebody else's name.
Yeah. Priory were a good side, and I've played a lot of football, and I've played with some good lads. Pete Alderton were a great footballer. Tony Rose.
Yeah.
So, some really, really good footballers.
Epi
were a good footballer. Mark were a good footballer. And but I always said best I've ever played with was Ray Hurst. And
I don't know.
Right, well his father-in-law owned Priory.
Right.
Or else he would have played at a...
Where did he play?
Centre forward. But he was a little scrawny kid. And I remember when we first played him with Kingston, and I was centre half, and Dennis Crowcroft says to me, we played Priory, which were always a bit on a ding-dong game, because it was always a good game, because they were a good side. He said, I want you to mark Ray Hurst. And I said, I don't know him. He said, I'll show you him. So we walked out, and he says, that's him there at number 9. And I remember looking at him, and he was like Rosie, but shaved beard.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know. I says, oh, all right. I said, I'll mark him. Anyway, we come off at half-time, we were losing 3-0, he'd scored all 3, right? And I says to Dennis, get somebody else on him. He said, what's up? I says he's everywhere. I couldn't keep no shape. It was just everywhere. So when I fell out with Kingston, Raymond rung me and said, come and play with us. And that's when I went to Priory, and I can't remember how long I played there, but most of my playing days were at Priory.
That's Saturdays though.
That's Saturdays.
Yeah.
And great football inside. Good lads. We had a reunion about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
I know, I saw a picture. Yeah.
And there were some good lads. What could have played? They could have played at better levels.
Yeah.
Honestly, but they were happy to play with their mates, which is sad. But
I said that to Fudge. I says, do you think some of these players that's, I've seen in local football, do you think if they'd have trained every day, they could have at least, lower, I don't know, semi-pro,
Semi-pro, yeah.
something like that. But like Epi, who used to with Lock Park with us, could have gone to Frickley with Glavin. But
that Paul though, that
yeah,
Paul were a good centre half.
But just wanted to late with his mate.
That's right.
Have a cigarette.
Correct. and it's their choice and that's what I'm saying. I turned chance of playing with Worsbrough Bridge first team to go back with Pride because of travelling. That was my choice, travelling. Whether I would have made it with Worsbrough Bridge, not made it. I'm on about held me on in that sort of league or what, I don't know. But when I was finishing my football on the Saturdays, I was one of them what like said I was packing in. Didn't really want to pack in, but
yeah.
And then I got a phone call from Mark Grundy. Mark Grundy had taken Worsbrough Bridge Reserves, and he got a lot of young lads coming through, and he said to me, "Come down and help me out, help me run reserves, and if you have to play sometimes, play like." So I went down, I went back down, and this is how I got involved with Worsbrough again. And I started off down Worsbrough then with Mark, playing odd game when they were short. But he wanted me to play all the time. So he'd say, I'm going to put you in today. And I said, no, Mark, put young'uns in. I know, but these are a bit more fit. No, put him in.
Yeah.
And that's how it was. And then they got to county senior final up at Stocksbridge when they played Grimethorpe. And Grimethorpe were a good side. They got a lot of good players at Grimethorpe. What do you think, what pick at Barnsley League at that time? Playing at Grimethorpe.
Tommy were looking for him, wasn't he?
Keith Thompson played for Grimethorpe. And I remember, and I tell my son this, because he's like assistant manager at Rec now, man management's a big thing. Getting them up there. Sam, that day, it's the worst foggiest day I've ever been on a football field. Well, I was in dugout. If ball were at the other side of the pitch, widthways, you couldn't see no, you could just hear them. And we were losing 2-0. And we come off at half time. And I can remember the referee coming in to change it, and he says to Mark Grundy, "Look, I'll give it 5 more minutes in second half, and if it's still like this, if you're on, I'll call it off." And I can remember Mark Grundy saying, "They're not calling no off, mate. We're here tonight, and we're going to win it tonight."
Yeah.
And he walked out, and he said to the lads, "Don't think that's a get out, because it didn't." He says, "We're stopping here, and we're winning it tonight." He says, "Get out there." And honestly, and everybody were like, because we could have just walked away.
Yeah.
2-0 down, walked away, played another day, gives us another chance. And we bet them 3-2. And I always remember it. And I stuck with Mark for ages. And then he went to the first team. But I had a bit away, and I went with Treadlow over 35s. Honest to God, Sam. I walked into that changing rooms, and I thought, what am I doing in here? Derek Parker.
Yeah.
Gordy Owen. Eamon Kavanagh, all played professional. Kev Brody, Edward Woolley.
Yeah.
They were all in. And I thought, and it was Tommy what took me up. What a side. What a side to play with.
They were winning like sort of normal league cups and all, weren't they?
Yeah.
Winning everything.
They were, obviously, I hope he listens to this.
And football was just better, all, wasn't it? Because they were older and
I don't know if you remember this kid. They call. I hope he does listen to it. A kid called Dougie from One Main. Steve Duggan.
Oh, Doug, yeah.
Scored. Honest to God, scored.
Big numbers.
Sorry about that,
Sorry,
Dougie. But he has got it to a T. I remember going in changing rooms.
All I said is smile on his face.
Good lad.
Yeah.
Good lad. And he sat to the side of me. And I said, "Hey, Dougie." I said, "What are they doing here?" I said, "I thought I was playing with Onewell." Because he was still playing with Onewell Main. And he says, I've given him a miss now. So I'm coming to play with over 35s. He says, "I'll get 50 goals in this league." So I said, "All right, sound." Anyway, we're about 2 games to go. I says to him, "Hey, Dougie." He says, "What?" I says, "They're not going to try and get them all in one game, are they?" And he started laughing, and he says, "I know." He says, "It's hard." No, I says, "There's some good players, mate." Because they're all like semi-pros or pros, what were dropping down just to keep love of football.
Well, when obviously we went to Fit Reds, and that kind of got me back into wanted to lake again. I didn't know there were another 45s league, so we ended up playing for Norfolk.
Oh, I can remember you going, yeah.
And so I went laking there for a few seasons, and my thoughts on it were this: all your players that were really good have still wanted to play, still kept the sense fit, and were like cream at crop were playing in these leagues. And Chris Waddle were laking.
Chris Waddle played. I played against Chris. Yeah.
So
played with Hilltop when I played.
Just because they wanted to play and
love of football.
I mean, there were some there are some tasty tackles now and again, but majority of the time it's football. It's not, they're not diving in because obviously they don't want to get injured or got to go to work next day. But football were brilliant. It were, you know what I mean?
Yeah, good. Because they weren't. I don't think they were over 45s when I started playing. It was just rag over 35 league.
Well, I think they're going to keep fucking going because
Over 65s.
No, they've got walking football.
Ah, they have, yeah.
So
yeah.
they'll be doing fucking wheelchair football next, won't they?
Well, funny enough, I bumped into Toddy from one of my men, and he says to me, "Come on, should you ever go at this?" I says, listen. He says, "They don't get to run." I says, "I didn't run when I played." I says, "I know that." I says, I walked all my life when I played football." I said, "No, it's not for me." I says, "I've done."
But this is where them two like stole a march on everybody because what they call him? I think it was Toddy's mate. They both of them went. They were playing in this team. They ended up getting a call up to England walking football team.
All right.
And I can't, what they call it? He like Wales with Norfolk, and I can't think what they call him.
There's a few now. There's Wally, Paul Walton.
Wally, well, it was Wally, and Wally scored first ever goal for England walking football team, and I think they won a tournament. But they had proper England. They were all sponsored by England, and I mean, they'd probably had to buy their own kit, but. Like, 50-year-old is ended up representing his country.
Yeah.
That's the weirdest thing ever. At walking football. I mean, he still plays normal, like, but good midfielder.
Oh, Toddy's one of the best has been in Barnsley. And I really mean that. But that's what I'm saying. I played at Wayne against some really, really good players. And I've always said, one thing I will say about like my time at playing football, no matter where I go, anywhere in Barnsley or whatever, right, there's always somebody who'll come up and talk to me about football.
Yeah.
You met mates what you don't think you've met mates with. And somewhat you've had real battles with on football field.
That's what, but that thing that I used to like is obviously you'd play on a Sunday, and then obviously a lot of us went out Sunday night, didn't we? That was one of regular things, and you just end up talking about football all the time.
That's what I'm saying.
How you're going on today?
Yeah. Well, wife once said to me, I once went in town with my wife, she said, "I'm not coming out anymore." So why? So she says, "Can't walk 10 yards without somebody pulling you and saying, 'How you going on?' or 'What's this? Who you with now?'" And I said, "Well, I can't be ignorant, can I?" I says, "You've just got to."
I know. So we both went on Fit Reds.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think we might have both been on second, and they
ever did. It was second one.
But I've gone on it again. I saw that post that you'd put. You've been on three times. And I thought, I've not kicked a ball in like 4 years. And if you've ever played football, if a ball rolled past you, you always want to kick it.
Yeah.
And it a bit similar to you, like knees or whatever. I think hips and and I just thought I'm going to give it another go. So I signed on. I sent Margie a message, and he says, "Yeah, come up." So I did my first in a couple of weeks ago, and then we've ended up at because if Barnsley's playing or whatever, or if there's
they have to move, don't they?
You have to move, but it's a 12-week course now. I think we did an 8.
When we did it, 8.
But you get a free watch now, a Garmin watch. Probably.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I haven't got it yet, but
right. I don't know.
Next time, I think.
I've done 3, and it was Luke. It was Fudge what got me on the first one.
Yeah.
Because again, going back to my links with Worsbrough Bridge, where they wanted the under-19s, and my lad were getting to age. It worked for me, and it was me and Steve Grundy, Mike Grundy's brother, and we set first under, and that was a great league. When we first joined that, it was split in 2, so there were north and south, and we were most northern team in Southern League, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we were going down to Eastwood Town, Atherstone, Worksop, all that. We were travelling, and it was a Wednesday night league. But
I bet you weren't getting back well there.
Oh no, it was a toll.
But for work next day.
Yeah, it was a toll. But it was like an academy. So it was like an academy side to non-league football. So you got Creamer all these under-19s, Fudge, my lad, Garside, all them, they all came through that Martin Scully. And it was a good setup for getting them into bigger leagues. And I always remember I went to watch Brig first team. I think I'd left under 19s then. I might have taken reserves. But I was watching first team, and I remember Charlie, secretary, Charlie Wyatt, he come and he says, here Ian, there's a programme there for you. You might want to have a read at it. So I looked at this programme, and I'm looking at it, and I said, yeah, it's all right, that, Charlie. He says, now look at side. So I looked at side, and I says, yeah, decent side, that'd be all right, that. It says, 10 out of 11 players came through your under 19s.
All right.
And I went, never. And I looked and I said, oh, yeah. He said, what an achievement that is, Ian. Honestly. And I thought, and he says, that tells you it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, Luke was one of them. My lad was one of them. And they went on to play first team, went to play under Chris Hilton, who we fetched, and became invincibles. They didn't lose all season, which they probably spoke about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I have.
So how did you end up moving up to being manager?
So what happened were, I left Worsbrough Bridge and went to manage Kingston. I've been out at football a bit, and my nephew, Mike, he got Kingston running, and I went to run Kingston, and a lot of players dual signed for me, like Alex Gillespie, what was still good enough to play for Brig, but they come and help me out, and Posey, Ryan Poskett and all them. And one day, with a game, Kingston in a game, and I turned around and Alex was on the sideline, and I says, "What's up? Ain't you got a game? What's happened?" And he says, "Oh, it's in turmoil here in Dartbrig." And I said, "Why? What's up?" He says, "This chairman, what they got now," he says he wants us to play his own games at Maltby Main. So I says, "How can you play your home games at Maltby Main?" I said, "You might as well be Maltby." I said, "You're Worsbrough Bridge, you've got to play down Worsbrough Bridge." Anyway, politics.
Yeah.
So I was still managing Kingston, but I got involved with trying to get Brig back to playing down Brig. And then I got a phone call from Pete Schofield, over in Australia at the time. And he says to me, "What's happening, Ian?" Because he was first manager what signed me on down Brig.
Yeah.
And I told him, I says, this, and he says, "When I come back, we'll have a meeting." So we had a meeting. We said, "We can't allow this to happen. Worsbrough Bridge is Worsbrough Bridge with a long-standing history and all that." So I got involved with him, and we managed to get this kid out, this chairman out, and we got him playing down Brig again. Yeah. And what happened was, lads who I get on great with, who were managers at time under old chairman, they left. So they didn't have a manager for first team. So Scoff said to me, "Will you see it season out?" So I did. Fudge came back and played for me, for old lads, and we struggled. We struggled at end, but we saw season out, which kept us in league and stuff like that. And then I had to apply. I weren't going to apply. I'll be honest with you, I weren't going to apply, because it were hard work. You know, we're getting up at 5 o'clock for work and then playing in Hull and not getting home at 1 o'clock.
Luke was saying the same thing.
It's hard work, mate. And all lad says, "Oh, Ian, come on, apply for it." So I applied for it, and Scoff gave me a job. And then we got off to a good start, to be fair, and we had a few injuries and that. And there were a lot of backstabbing in background, which you get. I understand that. A lot of backstabbing in background.
Did you get up to first few games? You were sixth, weren't you, or something like that?
Yeah, we did really well. We got off to a good start, and like I said, there were a few injuries, and we were going to put people in what we didn't really want to play, but we had to do, and stuff like that. Willie came back.
I've been wanting to get Willie on podcast.
Oh mate, yeah. What a fantastic guy! I remember we played at. If I didn't really tell you the name, I can't remember. It was North Yorkshire way, and we went. And midfield that day was Craig Goodyear, Willie, and Keith Goff. Right, and age. If you had a lot of age to come to 134. Right, and we were 1 apiece up to the last minute.
Yeah.
And we lost 2-1. And I remember Willie, and if he sits in this chair, he'll tell you. He's played against West Ham.
Yeah.
I think he's played at Wembley.
Yeah.
We went in them change-up. We got clapped off at field by every supporter. I think Kyle played right back and cocked his ankle early on and said, Dad, I says, stay there. Stop on field. Just be a number.
Yeah.
Anyway, we comes off and we went to change, and Willie cried.
Yeah.
He said he'd never played in a team with as much heart.
Yeah.
And I thought, that, it's coming from a kid what's played all them league games.
This is 1,000 games, yeah.
It takes them, and even now that kid messages me New Year's Day.
I get the same one.
Calls me father. Well, he calls me father. He'll say,
yeah,
Happy New Year, father.
He must message everyone.
Well, he does, though, because that's the sort of kid he is.
Yeah.
And sadly, when Jeff passed and that, I went to a funeral, and he was there, and he messaged me after. He said, sorry, I didn't get a chance to speak to your father. It was an emotional day. And I said, no problem, mate. Understand, and we'll catch up. So I got a phone, going back to football. We played Alum, and we got beat, heavy, 5-1, something like that. But Alum were up there. They were going to be a good side. And I think that were on Wednesday night. And Thursday night, I got a phone call from League our side. And he says to me, I've had a phone call from Josh Wright. Now, Josh had left us to go to Ossett. And I thought he was ringing to let me know that he was going to Ossett with Josh. And I says, is he trying to get you up to Ossett then? He says, no. He says, he just told me that Pete Schofield's offered him first team job.
Right.
So
and not spoke to you.
Yeah. So I says, all right. And we were playing Winterton. And he says to me, he's telling me, win, lose or draw, they're sacking you on Saturday.
Yeah.
He says, and I couldn't let that happen. He says, I'm ringing you as a friend and like a father to
Getting
me.
your heads up.
He says, it's up to you what you do, mate. So I resigned. I sent my resignation in.
Yeah.
And so that's and I got
Is it a paid job then?
No.
So it's like manager's
Yeah,
voluntary
and that's
at that level.
Yeah.
I thought you'd get like a
No.
I don't know. At
No,
least
I didn't even.
expenses
I didn't even get a drink.
That's ridiculous.
And that's what hurts more than out, because I was picking kit up at like 5 o'clock at tea time when I come home from work.
Do they pay players though?
Some, I don't know if they do now. They didn't when I were down there.
Yeah.
I think one at times when I was manager with Mickey Norbury, which if you want to talk about that, mate, that again, what do you know Mickey?
No.
Oh, mate, here's another one. If you get him in chair, it'd be worth talking about. He played with Preston and Donny. Played
Yeah.
but he's a great kid. And me and him got first team job. And going back to like I put getting up at 5 o'clock, going to work, coming home, picking kit up, travelling to Hull, getting home at 1 o'clock for not a bat, for not to even get a phone call from a club where I put a lot of hours in, a lot of time in, from under 19s, under 18s, reserves, first team, to not get that phone call, just to say, look Ian, it's not working, come in, let's have a talk. Which I'd have been happy, because I would have put Willie forward.
Yeah.
Because I know Willie were after, and I'd have put Willie forward.
I know you applied for Aquaforce job. You?
Yeah.
You're telling me like. And,
well, Norbs did. Mickey Norbury
yeah.
did, because he phoned me up, because if he'd have got it, he wanted me to go with him.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So when I left anyway, I left on a little bit of a downer, and I was really, really gutted at what had happened. And I got a few phone calls from local sides saying, come with us, and some good sides. And I just lost interest. Yeah. I says, no, I'm not bothered. A club, what I've put up my heart and soul into, if they can do it to thee, anybody can. And I got me mojo, football mojo back, I would say, with my grandson.
Yeah.
My son phoned me up and says, Brogan's playing, and anyway, I've started now, and that's where I get my enjoyment from now.
Yeah.
I know Ardene's at Wreck, and I've been to watch Ardene. I know Fudge was down Brigham. I went to that game. Because I still watch out for all lads what have come through, Garsides, Fudge, all them what still playing, because they were like my lads' best mates. And
yeah.
So, And I wish them all the best. And like when Ardeen says, "Oh, who's supporting tonight?" There, with Rec and Brig, and I'm like, I am. I mean, I want my lad to do well, for Rec, but I'm Brig at heart as well. So
it seems to me like that. Obviously, you've through your bricklaying and that, and you've gone into management, and then obviously you've managed teams as well. So you seem as though you've got management in your blood.
Well, I think they both do come together. I use a lot of my football management in my work management.
Well, that's
because
it.
you're dealing with people.
But some people are natural managers, and some people aren't. I mean, I don't think I could manage a group of lads. I'd probably lose my temper a bit. Much I was saying it to Fudge. I goes, on about. I says, have you had any tantrums? And he says I ain't. He says because I've had managers that have, but he says I'm not that type of person.
No, and that's the thing about management is knowing who you can put your arm around and who you can't.
Yeah.
Who needs a kick up arse to get them motivated, who just needs a bit of comfort, and the more time you spend with people, the more time you understand how to get best out of them. But yeah, it's hard, but it's time. I always look, even kids football, right? I can be really critical of managers, whether it's at Fudge and Ardeen's level or junior thing. But in back of my mind, I always think that they're doing it free of charge. They're giving their time up, and that you need a lot of respect for that. You've got to respect them for that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've been to our Brogan's and I think, what are they doing, right? But then I do think to myself, well, give them a bit of credit. They're getting the time up. They're training them and they're doing.
And obviously they're probably learning as well as they're going along. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of them might not have.
And that's how you get into it.
Yeah.
Through I remember getting in with Redfern's with our Kyle. It was like under 10, whatever it was. Managers left, and it was like, oh, you played football, didn't you? Right, and that's how you get into it, and that's how I became manager, and I did all my like level ones and stuff like that. But yeah, big part of my life, football, always has been, always will be.
So we'll move on to you becoming a counsellor. So how did this come about? When I saw it on Facebook, it surprised me. But then I weren't surprised. But what kick-started you to doing that?
Seeing things happening in your own community.
Yeah.
Demise a community and stuff like that, and thinking, can't allow it, something's got to happen.
But had you researched how you became a counsellor? Did you go, what do I have to do to be a counsellor? Had you spoke to anybody that were counsellors
I remember at Labour. I remember at Labour, and
so you used to go to meetings, and stand up.
So as a member of the Labour Party, you can go to Labour meetings in that ward. So it's Stairfoot ward.
Yeah.
So I went to a few meetings, and I was like listening to what people were saying and getting on board with that. And then when election were coming up, they needed to get a candidate. So I got approached and said, "Why don't you be a candidate?" And I was like, "So well, I work full time. I can't." And they went, "Oh, it don't matter. You just do what you can and all that, but you can help make a change." So I thought about it, and I spoke to the wife, Donna, and I just says, "What do you think?" And she says, "Yeah, go for it. I think you make a good counsellor, to be fair." And she gave me a little bit of a. So I says, right. I'll go for it, and that's when I agreed to be candidate, and I started campaigning.
Have you had any involvement, obviously with your management side? Were you ever like a union rep or out like that for companies that you work for?
No, not a union rep. I've been in disputes. I've been involved with disputes as a manager and as a union member.
So that'll put you in good stead for this type of...
Yeah, and I think union now are having a bit of a resurgence.
Yeah.
They had a really, really bad time after Thatcherism.
Yeah.
But I think they're having a resurgence now.
And I think you're right. I mean, Richard Bedford, that's what he is, works for Unison. But he's came about because company he worked for, I think he worked for Nailers, they'd not got a union rep. And obviously, Paddy used to stick his nose in all the time, saying, "You need to do this," and he knew like a fair few rules. And then somebody came up to him and said, "What about being union rep?" And he said, "What do I want to be a union rep for?" They said, "Well, you get so much, you know what I mean, these benefits that they got, and you can go on courses and don't have to work." So I thought, "Oh, if I don't have to work," and then obviously he ended up being working for Unison. And obviously he's had this thing with throat, because we're going to get him on here. I think it means throat. He can't really talk, so it's a shame. But that's how he got into that side of things.
Yeah. Coming from Kendry, like banter and that, you get it all the time. Ooh, Kendry, and all that, right? One thing I have learnt from living in Kendry is they've got a great community spirit, believe it or not, which I think you find in most villages. But they have got a great community spirit. And if aught happens, they all come together. And they've got little pockets at the minute. Caring for Kendry in the community, Farm Road, right? All doing great things, right? And I saw that and I thought, yeah, you know, I could, if I can help them. And I try to get involved with as much as I can, but obviously we work and stuff like that. So we're on now. We're sorting events out for Halloween and Christmas and stuff like that for community, because it is a good community. I know it gets a bit of a bad reputation, but
do you have to do people come to you with their issues? Then you go to council with them. So
depending.
Do you have like, I've seen it called surgeries. I don't know what it's called.
It is a surgery.
Yeah.
We've not held none at the moment. But we've just done posters now, what we're going to be putting up. We're starting them. We're starting surgeries.
And how does this work then? Do you sit behind a big desk and file them in? Or?
So it's a bit like this, Sam. You sat at a desk, people will come in and they'll give their concerns or what, and then you just try and help them out. It might be about a benefit.
Yeah.
And I've got to admit, that's one of the things I'm not really up to speed with, but I've got a colleague, Karen, what is. So if they come in and they say, "Oh, I can't get this benefit," no, she'll go through that. But any other issues, I try to help out.
And then, so how does this work then? So then you'll go back to. Is it like a big office, or is it like a meeting?
Chamber.
What they have? So,
you go in chamber, don't you?
So is it a bit like what we see on telly, like a parliament? Not as big. So you can all, and then you can all talk.
Yeah, if it gets to that, if it's them sort of issues that you're going to go and talk about, if it's a big issue, what means that you need to go to, like, council meeting. Most of the issues that we get, you can deal with by emails to different parts of council, like litter picking or.
So them bigger meetings are normally to vote on stuff, is it?
And stuff like that. So I'm a member at planning. So if I get to meetings, it might be that Sam wants to build 2 houses down here, and it'll be, well, are we happy for that? Is it what's what effects it's going to have on neighbourhood and all that, and then you might vote on it.
One of the things, did you see that poster I put on Facebook last night? I don't know if you've read it. This Friday's Chronicle, and I know you can't talk on individual cases and that, but it said, it's just something that resonated with me. It said, council's spending £1 million on, in fact, it's up where we used to live, Albion House.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw what you wrote.
Penetrating damp. And straight away I'm going, it's a cavity wall, probably got insulation in, and they're saying every one of them has got penetrating damp. And straight away I'm thinking, that doesn't sound right, but they're going to spend £1 million. And
You've actually read reports, haven't you?
I didn't know. I said I want to.
Right.
I said I'd love to be able to read reports. I don't know where I'd access them, because I want to see who said it's penetrating. That to me, it just sounds like it's poor ventilation. They haven't got adequate ventilation, and I reckon with PCA they've got a thing where you can put data loggers in, and then you'll take these data loggers to PCA. They'll sort of, all that information that they've got, it goes through they've got this like computer program, and they'll tell you exactly what the issue is.
Yeah.
And this is like, as a PCA member, I can access these data loggers and we can put them in and see. And I don't know whether out like that's been done. And I just think that have they allocated £1 million, and one of the lads who I know, Nick, his scaffolding company, they've approached him for scaffolding, and I'm thinking, scaffolding great buildings and that, and you can see where money's being spent, but does it actually need it? Yeah, is it warranted? I'd just be really surprised. Older properties with solid walls were built with solid walls, so when it rained, rain might penetrate so far, and then when weather changed, it evaporated back out, so it won't get inside. It only got inside if you had like a leaking gutter, and it was just constantly in that place, and it might penetrate in, or thermal bridge. These are cavity walls, and they've got insulation in. It's like, how's it get across cavity for a start? And I've seen them buildings from 70s getting worked on. A lot of money spent on them, roofs, all sorts.
Yeah.
And I just think somebody's got that wrong. That can't be right, unless it's report that's wrong. So
I'm sure there'll be some way where where public can read report.
I'll have to do a bit more.
I'm sure there will be, Sam.
Yeah, I'll have to do more research.
I'm sure they'll be open to any ideas or comments. But I only, to be honest, that's the first time I've heard of it. With what you put on. But I actually, with my work at the moment, I'm doing a lot of decarbonisation projects where we're doing external wall installations and stuff. And that's another thing what's started to...
This is I mean, for such as me, it's brilliant, because the amount of work that I'll get if I wanted it, up to 2030, I think, is it 2035?
Yeah, 2035 at minute past.
We've got to hit these targets. Which it's not going to happen. They're not going to hit these targets.
No.
But will they get fined? I think I don't know whether this was started when we were part of European Union. This
funding.
No, these levels that we've got to hit.
Oh right, yeah.
So somebody's like, obviously if we won't hit them when we're in European Union, that's when we can get fined. But we're not in that now, so I don't know whether we.
No, but they'll have still set the goal.
Yeah, but what they're saying is if you don't hit this whatever so many emissions for 2035, because you've got to have all these houses, that they get hit with fines and stuff. Also that data just get put into ether, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But
I know where I work in Tamworth, they started fitting these PIVs in lofts and things. Again, I hear good and bad things. After we fitted them, I hear good and bad things from tenants. Some saying, yeah, it's made an improvement, and others saying, it's rubbish and all this. First thing they say is, how much does it cost?
not much.
No, I know, but that's first thing they say. How much does it cost? How much it's costing? But
I've just looked at a guy. He owns a company called Elta Fans Home Vent. I think they're smaller versions, but the sell-out fans is called Home Vent. And the biggest, I'd never heard of them before I started buying fans from them. Apparently the biggest supplier of fans in Europe, and I'd never heard of them. I thought like that'd be Manrose or one of others, you know what I mean? But he's just invented a fan for a subfloor because of all this insulation you've got to have in. A lot of subfloors, some of them have not got adequate ventilation all the way around. They've only got like say one vent, so there's no circulation. So he's fetched these Mori vents out. So I've got them in my kitchen for bathroom and kitchen, and these are heat recovery ones. So they'll extract for so long. Then after 70 seconds, they'll drag in. So you get in, and this is how this subfloor fan works. So you fit it, and it'll make air circulate. So you're getting air changes in subfloor, and you're not getting condensation forming. But he's invented this because of this insulation that they're having to put in subfloors. Right, But when I was reading information, that costs between £6 and £8 a year, which I mean, if you break it down per day, it's not much.
No.
It's still a lot for people that's not got much.
No, but if it's going to improve their health,
yeah,
because we know that damp and stuff like that.
PIVs will. PIVs, they make air quality inside a property better. So if you suffer from like underlying conditions that's going to get set off by dust mites, carpet ticks and things like that, you know what I mean, pollen, then a PIV is ideal. Yeah, it's ideal.
Yeah, so I think decarbonisation is going to be a big thing going forward, because that one I'm on at the moment in Notts, it's funded, so it's a demo at minute, and then we're obviously going on to wave 1, which we've got to try and get done by March next year.
Yeah.
And then obviously wave 2. So, but it vastly improves property. I mean, them what we're working on in Mansfield, the flats, like first floor flat, ground floor flat, first floor, like blocks of 4, and all kinds of issues with damp, humidity issues, and thermally not really good, freezing, having to put the heating on, and we've just put 200 ml phenolic all the way around.
Yeah.
And even now they're saying, can't believe the difference.
That extension, I mean, I've said it 1,000 times, but amount of insulation that's in it probably costs more than building, blocks and that built it as thick as out. But it don't take no to eat it.
No, that's right.
And heat does stay in there.
Stays there.
Yeah, and I think that's idea.
Yeah.
But the problem is your ventilation. You just got to make sure that your ventilation balances out.
I can remember when I worked in Sheffield for Lovell, we'd just done a double glazing project, and this woman rang me up. She says, my windows are leaking in. So I says, your windows are leaking in? I says, I can't leak. They are, come down. Anyway, I went down. So she'd gone from having like metal windows to PVC double glazed sealed units. And I walked into the kitchen, and straight away she got a pan boiling away, tumble dryer on, all windows closed. It's October, it's pissing it down outside.
Yeah.
And you could just see water running down, condensation. They had brook vents in at the time on windows, and an extractor fan. She got extractor fan turned off, brook vents closed. Washing, drying out on radiator. And I walked in and she says, look here. I says, it's condensation, it's not leaking in. She says, what do you mean? I says, you need to open your vents. And well, she says, it's freezing outside. I says, but that's what they're for.
The problem is now they've passed a law now for landlords. You can't say if your tenant's got black mould now, you can't say it's lifestyle. Before we could say that, we could go, your giant clothes, you've got that's the worst thing. Fish tanks. Some people have got fish tanks like this, and it's just water's just evaporating. But you can't. You've got to go in and say, like, how can we solve this problem? Your tenant can do what they want, and now you've got to go, well, we've got to get proper ventilation in, proper insulation, and else you
can't point a finger and say your problem.
Else you're going to end up in court, and there's all these no fee solicitors circling, waiting to pounds, and what they're saying is average cost what people can win is around about $3,000, but the cost of the court case and what solicitors are getting, it's like phenomenal. 40 or 50. And this is where money's going. So, and then this is our prices are going up.
Yeah, because it has to come back.
Up. Yeah, somebody's got
to pay for it.
Yeah, that's it. Anyway, I think I'm going to wrap this up here. I think we've done what we've done. We've done nearly 2 hours, so I think I'll probably split this into
thanks,
two
Sam.
parts.
Thanks for inviting me.
But it's been a pleasure. Yeah. So if people want to get in touch with you as a counsellor, how do they get in touch with you?
I've got a Facebook page, which is for my council page. And there is a phone number. It's a Barnsley number, and I can't think because I don't use it so much. But
they're better off on Facebook page, aren't
they? Just message me, mate. I'm always willing to help.
So if they're in ward and they've got any issues...
If they're not in ward and I can help them up, direct them, I will do.
Brilliant.
I always say, I can't guarantee that I can help you, but what I will guarantee is I'll try my best.
Brilliant.
That's the main thing.
Well, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers.